For the life of me, I cannot remember which one of you geniuses left this comment on my page, but whoever it is, thank you, because you made a good point, and quite frankly, you have inadvertently inspired this video. The comment basically said something along the lines of, Mr. Iguana is like the logical conclusion of the slippery slope started by Daniel Bryan, right? I know I butchered it, but that was the gist of it, motherfucks. And this person, this genius, and obviously this, I think, proves that my fans are obviously smarter than nearly everyone else's fans, because that's a very astute observation. This guy, or gal, basically was saying that, you know, once you accept Daniel Bryan as a premise, right, then you have to start accepting Mr. Iguana as a premise. It won't be directly after, right? It's not like you're gonna go from Daniel Bryan to Mr. Iguana, but it's coming your way, motherfucks. It's coming your way to a theater near you. Simple as that. Mr. Iguana is gonna be the logical conclusion of accepting mediocrity, right? Now, a lot of people to this day defend some of this shit. The hater was on like WWE Reddit or something, and some guy was saying, like, what's the point of Nikki Cross? So the hater gets on there and he says, there is no point, motherfucker. And then this comment chain goes out of nowhere, and it basically leads to the conclusion where this one idiot is telling the hater, he's like, well then in that case, get rid of wrestlers like Finn Balor and Daniel Bryan. Nobody thought they were unbelievable. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Everyone who's smart thought it was unbelievable that Daniel Bryan is a world champion. The viewership went from like 5 million to 2 million as a result of that, basically. Like around that time, the fans just left and right, because they're like, oh, wait a second. My childhood heroes, Triple H, Batista, and Orton, are being beaten by a man 1/3 of their size, with 1/3 of the charisma, 1/3 of the ability, 1/3 of the talent, 1/3 of the mic skills, and I'm being generous when I say 1/3, motherfuckers. This guy sucks. And people are like, it wasn't unbelievable then. Yes, it was. It was unbelievable then. It is retarded to think that Daniel Bryan is beating up Randy Orton, let alone Batista. It's fucking stupid. If you believe that that's possible in real life, you are retarded. Now, when I say possible, I mean in the context of an organized sport. Obviously, in a street fight, someone kicks someone in the head, anything's possible. Like, I have like a 0.00001% chance of beating up Lashley or Brock Lesnar, but like 100,000 times out of 101,000 times, they're just destroying me in 2 seconds, right? It's just how it is, motherfuckers. It's just how it is. That's the real world. It was unbelievable then, and it's unbelievable now. So, let me put it to you this way, to extend the metaphor. At one point, the World Heavyweight Champion was Rey Mysterio. Obviously, unbelievable that he's the World Heavyweight Champion, but sometimes you gotta let it go and consider it a fluke, because it's fucking Rey Mysterio, right? It's an absolute legend. And Rey Mysterio has a competitive 25-minute match on SmackDown against somewhat of a rival in Gregory Helms, who is the Cruiserweight Champion. Now, Rey Mysterio is the current, or was the current, World Heavyweight Champion, but Rey Mysterio is a Cruiserweight fundamentally. So him having a competitive match with the Cruiserweight Champion, Gregory Helms, who's bigger than him, makes sense, right? Mysterio is presented as the better wrestler. Gregory Helms is presented as a very valuable asset to the company and a very game wrestler. He also had similar matches with Benoit, right? Because he's fucking Gregory Helms. He was awesome. So the idea is, Gregory Helms is like a low-level champion, and he's taking the world champion to the limit, right? Then, like a week later, it'll be like Gregory Helms gets pinned by Hornswoggle. See what I'm saying? The same thing is happening with Mr. Iguana, right? If Hornswoggle has any chance to beat Gregory Helms, then logically, Hornswoggle has any chance to beat Rey Mysterio, who's the world champion. So that's why the smart motherfucks gatekeep a little bit. Not me. I'm not talking about me and you. I'm talking about the smart motherfucks in power, like Vince McMahon. He understands. He's like, wait a second. Rey Mysterio can be the champion, right? It'll be a short, uneventful title run, and he will get his ass beat week by week by people like Great Khali and Mark Henry, so that the fans don't think that just because he's the World Heavyweight Champion, he's bigger and stronger and can beat up these guys, right? It was clearly engineered that way, right? They did the same thing, not as effectively, with Kofi Kingston. People, like Kofi Kingston's title reign was like 4 months. It should have been like 4 weeks at most, right? What should have happened is Kofi Kingston beats Orton once on a fluke with like a roll-up. Orton brutalizes him after the match. And then the next time, Orton just punts him in the head, wins the title, and takes out Kofi Kingston for like 8 months. That's what should have happened, because in real life, that's what would happen. Randy Orton would beat the shit out of Kofi Kingston, and that'd be the end of that. You see what I'm saying? There has to be some logic behind this. Ultimately, they realized, oh, wait a second, we forgot, and we let Kofi Kingston's title reign go to like 4 to 5 months. And they're like, now, we want to put the title on Brock Lesnar. Well, it doesn't matter if Kofi Kingston has been champion for 4 to 5 months. He's still Kofi Kingston. In other words, he's still Rey Mysterio. He's not going to beat Mark Henry. So as a result, what happens? Kofi Kingston starts the match with Lesnar, F5, 1, 2, 3. As a matter of fact, that's one of the best matches of all time because it didn't waste anybody's time with the insult that would be required to watch this match go beyond 1 minute. Like, you know there is no way in hell that Kofi Kingston is lasting a minute against Brock Lesnar in anything, right? Brock Lesnar's going to murder this guy. And honestly, like if Xavier Woods and Big E get in, he'd murder them too in about a minute. Big E might last a minute and 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Like he would destroy these guys. So the match was actually really good. A lot of people think it's shitty because they buried Kofi Kingston. But it's like, what are you actually talking about? Like the guy would get destroyed in real life. There has to be a level of believability. And according to my fan, and according to me, and according to anyone who's not a retard, the same thing is happening with Mr. Iguana. Well, if Finn Balor is going to be accepted as a retarded guy with a fucking simple jack haircut, who sometimes comes out dressed weird with tassels and paints his body like Carnage from Marvel, and this guy all of a sudden now gets superpowers, and he fights another fat guy who dresses as Sister Abigail, and he has superpowers, but Finn Balor can overcome him and overcome people like Lashley when he puts on paint, well, then it's not much of a stretch to give you a mediocrity like Mr. Iguana and say, well, this guy sucks, but if you put an iguana puppet on his hand, he's now like capable of beating The Undertaker. You know what I mean? This is the slippery slope, right? This is the reason why people were like, whoa, 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 wait a second. We cannot in good conscience accept Daniel Bryan and Finn Balor as legitimate WWE title contenders. We made that mistake once with Rey Mysterio, and we treated that as the fucking caveat that it was. Rey Mysterio had 3 very uneventful title runs, right? And they were capped off with him losing to much bigger guys, right? Like Rey Mysterio was cheated out of his title by Chavo, but the real point there was like, all right, it's time for Booker T to become the world champion because he looks like Booker T, and Rey Mysterio looks like Rey Mysterio, and we're gonna have Rey Mysterio wrestle a guy that looks like him, even though Chavo's about 5 inches taller, but you know what I mean? Like, he's now gonna move on to a feud with Chavo because he cannot go back to the world heavyweight title. Like, he just can't. It's not believable that Rey Mysterio can beat up Booker T ever. So, it has to go down like this. I'll talk about the very brief WWE Championship run of Rey Mysterio. He had the title for literally less than 1 day. He lost it the same night he won it to John Cena. Same thing. It's like, all right, we respect you. You've contributed so much to this business, right? Rey Mysterio is one of my favorites of all time. And as a result, we respect you enough to give you a 1 hour WWE run. WWE title run, world title run. You know what I mean? I think that's very respectable. That's what you get. You've put in your work, you deserve it. We need someone to be like the ultimate transition champion. It's gonna be you, kid. Could have been the Miz, it's gonna be you. Right? You deserve that. That's in the record books. But don't get it twisted. You're not in the same level as John Cena in terms of believability. But nowadays, and this doesn't just apply to world titles, obviously, right? This applies to anything, you know? You are expected to believe that, like, we have like a fucking dynasty of intercontinental champions. One of them is fucking Kurt Angle, motherfucks. One of them is Stone Cold. One of them is The Rock. One of them is JBL. See what I'm getting here? Kane is an intercontinental champion. And you expect me to tolerate like that the next mid-card champion is Solo Sikoa or Sami Zayn? You expect me to just accept this? It's like, this is a title, like the US title is a title that Booker T and like Benoit had a best of 7 series that was ultimately finished by like Orton and Benoit, right? 3 legit, I mean, Benoit is what he is, so fuck him actually, but Randy Orton, one of the best of all time, and Booker T, one of the best of all time, fought tooth and nail for the US title, so that then it can be contested between Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn. Can you imagine a world in which Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa have to fight in real life, Booker T and Randy Orton? Like, they would get destroyed in like 3 seconds. No, Solo Sikoa's from the streets. He's a fat ass. What do you think of them apples? You know what I mean? And that's what happens. We tolerate the intolerable, and then we are given more things to tolerate after the intolerable becomes the tolerable. See what I'm getting at, motherfucks? It would be like, imagine if, for example, think of something else that just periodically got worse. I don't know, how about Subway sandwiches? Remember when they used to be good, motherfucks? Subway sandwiches, they're like, all right, $5 foot long, pretty damn good deal, right? You get a pretty decent sandwich. Nothing that is gonna rival any deli level sandwich, but a decent sandwich for $5. Now it's like $10 or more, probably like 12. And what happens? The quality goes down. And people are like, all right, still gonna buy it. You know, I grew up with Subway. I'm gonna get it once in a while. Like my mom, every time she visits the hater in the United States from the old country, she's like, oh, let's go get Subway. I remember he used to be good. And every time, she doesn't learn her lesson. She's like, oh, this is not as good. I'm like, I know. I've been telling you this for like 10 years. You know? But it's the same thing. People don't learn their lesson sometimes. And it's a flaw that we all make, right? We all have done that. We've all gone to a place that has gotten worse and worse and worse. And we're like, oh, shit, fine, you know, I'll give it another shot. Then it sucks still, right? For the hater, one of those is Qdoba. Remember Qdoba? You eat that, it's like, tastes like ass. Yeah? You're like, what is this? Am I eating Mexican food or am I eating ass? Mexican ass. So what I'm getting at here, motherfuckers, is that this is a common human misconception. But some people can see it coming, right? If tomorrow Subway says, okay, our footlongs are now going to be 10 inches, you hope that someone's like, well, wait a second. It seems like you're just trying to fist us a little bit more, right? Same thing. We expect like fucking, like Marvels. We expect superheroes, motherfuckers, at the main event of WrestleMania. And one day someone's like, oh, you know, we have 3 of your superheroes. They're all aging. They're all past their prime. We don't take them as seriously. So we're going to have them all job to this asshole called Daniel Bryan. And people, instead of rejecting it vehemently and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, Batista should just like murder this guy in the beginning of the show, before the show starts. And if Batista can find him, Triple H should just beat him, and the main event should just be Evolution Triple Threat. You know? I was hoping that would happen. I'm sure a lot of people were. But it didn't, motherfuckers. So that being said, this slippery slope needs to be addressed as well. It's probably too late now, but it doesn't mean that we have to let the ball keep rolling, right? We saw what happens when you try to push Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, fucking Finn Balor as big deals. You lose about 5 million views. So what do we do now? Well, hopefully someone's smart enough to say, all right, you know what? Fuck Mr. Iguana. Send this asshole back to AAA where he can go wrestle Psycho Clown for the Campeonato de Pendejos. But he gives a shit. You know? So do that. Make a difference that way. Change the game to get better results. It's not exactly, you know, rocket science, right? We just get it done the way that we want to do it, and we make a difference slowly but surely. That being said, fuck yourselves.